Yuzuru wakes up unexpectedly and finds himself in an unfamiliar setting. He is unable to remember how he got there. He is informed that he is on the I Ain't Dead Yet battlefront and is invited to join them by a rifle girl named Yuri Nakamura, who is shooting at another girl named Tenchi. Tenchi and Yuzuru converse. Yuzuru informs Tenchi that Yuri has her in his sights. He wants Tenchi to stab him to show that he is dead, but it doesn't hurt him, and when he awakens his bloodied shirt is lying next to him. He insults Yuri, and another boy stabs him 100 times, but he still lives. He tries to approach the headmaster's chamber when he first wakes up, but is thrown outside the building. He is found by others and brought into the headquarters, where he learns the SSS has a new name. He meets several other SSS members there and decides to join them. The SSS prepares Operation Tornado. That evening is schemed to steal some lunch tickets from the NPCs, non-playable characters. Other group members engage in combat with Angel for the duration necessary for the plan to succeed, and then they flee while stealing meal tickets. They eat later in the cafeteria. Yuzuru is still unsure of what to do. Yuri decides to bring the group members to the guild's deep underground base, where group allies create the weapons for them, because the group is running low on weaponry. The group discovers that several traps that were initially deactivated by the guild have been reactivated as a result of Angel's approach against the guild. As each member steps into a trap, Fujimaki observes that while Yuzuru had been fortunate earlier, he will likely perish in the following trap. Yuzuru and Yuri are kept unharmed, but Fujimaki drowns owing to his inability to swim. Don't worry, they will be right back after some time because they're already dead. While relaxing, Yuri shares with Yuzuru how her 3 younger siblings were murdered after burglars broke into their house while their parents were away. This incident served as Yuri's inspiration to fight against the unfair fate God had assigned her. Tenchi is involved in the conflict, but because she is unharmed, Yuri chooses to use explosives to blow up the guild. The guild members, under the leadership of Chad, decide to follow Yuri's plan and move to the former guild location, which has been abandoned for a considerable amount of time. When Angel enters the guild, Yuri buys them enough time to flee and reach the previous guild, where the guild members immediately begin to work. Iwasawa performs a new song she made for the group, but Yuri disapproves of it. Yuri wants to infiltrate Tenchi's fortress and discover her secrets. She has enlisted the assistance of a computer whiz who prefers to go by the name of Christ. Yuzuru practices with his weapon. He pauses momentarily when he observes Yui, an obsessive fan of Girls Dead Monster, hanging up flyers. Iwasawa shares with him her traumatic past. Her home life was extremely miserable. One day she is moved to seek solace by a musician's melodies, and with the aid of an abandoned guitar, Iwasawa begins to discover who she is. Iwasawa gets hurt during a disagreement between her parents, and she will never be able to sing again. Before Iwasawa can explain how she passed away to Yuzuru, she is summoned away. The group break into Tenchi's room as the Girls Dead Monster performs their annoying concert. Yuzuru believes that robbing a girl's room is wrong. Iwasawa breaks away from the event to grab her old instrument and perform the ballad she was rejected for. Chris now has enough time to break into Tenchi's computer network. Iwasawa knows she has discovered something toward the song's conclusion, and smiling serenely, she vanishes. Iwasawa, according to Yuri, has adopted Tenchi's point of view. Yuzuru suggests that Yui replace Iwasawa as the vocalist after Iwasawa's death, but the other group members disagree because Yui is the exact antithesis of Iwasawa. Yuri goes on to suggest that the group should take part in the forthcoming baseball tournament. Yuzuru is the first athletic member that Hinata attempts to recruit. The other members eventually settle on Takamatsu. Without any other option, Hinata makes Yui a resource. They then enlist Shina, Noda, and pre-NPC girls. Due to Noda's refusal to acknowledge any of Yuzuru's efforts, Hinata's squad also succeeds in winning their own game, and it soon becomes clear that Yuri will not penalize them. Soon Vice President Ayato and Angel's squad will show up. Each one eventually succumbs to Angel's squad, which consists of players from the school baseball team, until Hinata's team is the only one left. They gain momentum when Yuzuru successfully bribes Matsushita into playing outfield for their side. The eating scene in the playground is hilarious. He reveals to Yuzuru that he was despised by his peers and lost a significant baseball game in his previous life. Then his coach gave him some drugs. Yuzuru understands that Hinata will vanish if he relives his prior experiences and succeeds this time. He is timed by Yui, but the ball is not caught. Tenchi triumphs, Hinata is saved, and Yuri is furious. The following procedure is to cause Tenchi to fail her exams. Takeyama, who sits in front of Tenchi, switches her paper with her made-up responses. The males are required to create a distraction during the exam, But when they all decide it is futile, Yuri starts hitting them with the ceiling. Kanade adopts a fresh strategy and removes his shirt. Unfortunately, it also had a lackluster outcome, and when Yuri tried to step in, he was launched through the ceiling. He is moving like a bat while hanging from the ceiling. The following day, Yuri says that there are rumors that Tenchi's position as class president has been lost. Yuri decides to carry out the plan and steal the meal tickets once more. Tenchi shows up and Yuzuru tells everyone not to shoot her and lets her go into the structure. Tenchi walks over to the meal ticket area after arriving at the performance. As Yuri watches, the lunch tickets are taken by them, including Tenchi. When Yuzuru later receives Tenchi's meal ticket, he is upset that her comfort food was taken. Yuri is angered by the possibility that Tenchi was just like them, but had to develop abilities to fight the group, because that is what her role as president required. The next step, according to Yuri, is to cause trouble at the school and observe Naoi's response. Most group members act foolishly to cause trouble. Eventually, Naoi turns around and all the group members run away. Tenchi is invited to lunch by Yuzuru. Naoi interrupts their meal to arrest them for breaching a rule. They attempted to fight Naoi, but he shielded himself from the NPC children, according to Yuri. Naomi's human nature and ability to continue attending school are also shown. After Yuzuru begs her, Tenchi tries to break down the door, but her weapon is ineffective. Tenchi does not represent the enemy, as Yuzuru understands. Yuzuru prevents Yuri from disappearing, as Naoi was changing her past with fake memories as they were trying to escape the prison. Naoi loses to Yuzuru. Then, Naoi shares his tragic past. He and his twin were conceived by a well-known potter. His older brother was an accomplished potter, but he passed away. Naoi was killed by her violent father, who made her turn into her talented twin. She strove to impress his father, despite never being as brilliant as his brother. She was never educated to be a brilliant potter, rendering his life meaningless, and soon his father became ill. To help Yuzuru remember his history, Yuri wants Naoi to hypnotize him. Yuzuru uses Naoi to help him remember his past. Yuzuru had no goals in life. All he did was visit his sick sister in the hospital and give her the manga she had purchased. He persevered throughout his life because of her. She passes away after he stealthily leaves the hospital. Yuzuru changed his direction in life and put in a lot of effort to become a medical student. Before passing his university entrance examinations, he also passes away on a train. He believes that because he failed to achieve his aim, his life is insignificant. He informs Yuri that he will continue to be a member of the group after getting over his melancholy. Yuri then declares that since they are out of food, it is mission time, but they chose to go fishing instead of taking the typical tornado route. The majority of the group teammates freak out when Yuzuru invites Tenchi along. She is no longer the president of the student council, Yuzuru notes. Tenchi quickly captures the devilfish in the water after Yuri gives her permission. The scene of making a line while catching the big fish is hilarious. Tenchi is a member of the team. At the very moment that Yuri crawls up hurt and claims that Tenchi did it, she chooses to spend time with them all. The moment the evil Tenchi appears, everyone is surprised. Even though Yuri tries to defend the group, bad Tenchi ends up being much more violent than good Tenchi. After Yuzuru's spontaneous attacks are defeated by bad Tenchi, good Tenchi attacks succeed. The group team takes good Tenchi to the clinic after she loses. Yuri instructs everyone to report to class before she formulates a strategy. Yuri enters Tenchi's room covertly and modifies some software on the computer. Good Tenchi is abducted before Yuri can ask her to install the new program. The evil Tenchi has brought the righteous one to the demolished guild. To save good Tenchi, the party descends to the trap-filled lair. Another terrible Tenchi kills Noda out of the blue. As a group, they follow Matsushida's example and perish after killing a terrible Tenchi one by one. How many photocopies of Tenchi? There are only Yuzuru and Yuri left. While Yuzuru saves the good Tenchi, Yuri fights the final bad Tenchi. He exhorts her to adopt the new program to reintegrate the undesirable Tenchi into herself. He discovers too late that the consequences of such a program may significantly harm good Tenchi, and he is left with no choice but to watch hopelessly as good Tenchi is harmed. Yuri holds herself responsible for what transpired. However, Yuzuru advises her not to put herself in a position of responsibility. Yuri sent Takeyama to keep hold of the software while TK and Matsushita monitored the nurse's office because she expected any scenario. In Yuzuru's dream, everything is pitch black. He realizes that he skipped the entrance exam after checking the time. When he notices an injured person behind him, he cures him. I'm surprised that Yuzuru is a doctor. After a few hours of search and rescue, Yuzuru chooses to leave the train and look for an exit after carrying the man out of it. Lighta cannot contact anyone due to signal problems. Yuzuru manages to survive in that tunnel for 7 days. Near the end, he begins to have mild internal bleeding and decides that his end of the story on Earth would be to sign a donor card persuading Igarashi and the other survivors to do the same before he passes away. After that tedious slog, Tenchi is staring at Yuzuru when he awakens, and he is happy to realize that she is alright. Tenchi accepts Yuzuru's friendship offer, and he decides to take action by forcing everyone to pass the Afterlife school. Tenchi's position is restored and Naoi is granted the new role of Vice President of the Student Council. Tenchi demonstrates the most recent iteration of her hand Sonic, while Yuzuru wants to make Yui vanish first. Kanade hears Yuzuru's scheme in which Tenchi steals Yui's instrument, and she pursues her after a while. Yui is relieved to receive her guitar back from Yuzuru, who also gives her a drink while they continue their conversation outside. She starts to think back on her history. Yui explains to Yuzuru how she was struck by another car, becoming paralyzed, confined to a bed, and needing constant care from her mother. Additionally, the music shows she watches to spend her free time were a source of inspiration for her guitar playing. Yuzuru resolves to assist her in baseball, soccer, and professional wrestling. She only makes castles in the air. Soon Yui reveals to him her final wish, which is to marry. She acknowledges that there is nothing she can do, and that God was unkind in robbing her of all joy. Yuzuru objects, to which Yui replies, "Will you marry me?" Hinata responds as Yuzuru stays silent. He reiterates that he would locate her, fall deeply in love with her, and marry her regardless of how she was feeling. Yui sighs contentedly and vanishes. Hinata and Naoi, who are at odds, are encountered by Yuzuru. The Mysterious tries to take control of Naoi's body, but Yuzuru can free himself. Yuri commands the rest of the group to form teams to protect themselves. Yuri also summons Tenchi to the council office for the first time. As they run outdoors to find the source of the gunshots, after Hinata hears them, Kanade releases her wings and jumps to the ground. The shadows were easily vanquished by them. She informs Yuzuru that Tenchi must first remove the shadows for her to proceed. Yuri acknowledges that she is aware that Tenchi is not an angel, but rather a fellow human. They are stunned by this news. Even though she knows that some people will still pursue her, she chooses to go alone. They get a call in the interim, informing them of the impending attack. While assembling the necessary weaponry, Yuri remains by herself at the headquarters. She comes upon a senior citizen using one of the computers. She looks around for a while before discovering a concealed passageway in the computer room's tiled floor. She takes a brief look around and discovers that she is returning to Guild. For the impending conflict, Yuzuru, Hinata, and Naoi are getting ready. They call each other useless like toilet paper. Then, many shadows charged Yuzuru's squad. They push through the shadows as Noda emerges. When Yuri arrives at the old guild, she takes some time to recover and to see if Tenchi remains okay. She laments her inability to become friends with Tenchi and remarks on how her life would be simpler if she did not regard her as an adversary. Much to her surprise, Yuri discovers herself in class. After class, Hitomi, one of her classmates, questioned her about how she had acted previously. When they arrived at the basement, they noticed a group of shadows. Tenchi decides to intervene and puts an end to things with the might of a bomber. Then Yuri leaves and enters a room where she discovers herself surrounded by computer equipment. She is told by an AI boy that she has the potential to modify the world, but she rejects this. The AI is then informed by Yuri that she has come to protect people who are significant to her. She fired at each computer, bringing down the systems. After being convinced by her siblings that she doesn't need to fight anymore, Yuri discovers herself staring at them. Yuri discovers herself awakening in the hospital. She still has Hinata, Yuzuru, Naoi, and Kanade by her side, and they are all in awe of her for having survived the confrontation with the person responsible for the Shadow's arrival. Yuri meets the other four at the gym after changing quickly. The Afterlife Battlefront graduation ceremony is introduced by Yuzuru. The program moves on to the diploma presentation, conducted by the principal after the national anthem is over. What a tranquil commencement! As the spokesperson for the graduating class, Yuzuru stands up and delivers the address after the award ceremony. The group is then instructed to stand and perform Ajbatutoshi by Yuzuru. Naoi approaches Yuzuru and expresses gratitude for all he has done to bring about inner serenity before vanishing with a final bow. Except for Tenchi and Yuzuru, they all depart one at a time. Tenchi is silent when Yuzuru professes his love for her, because if she spoke, she would vanish. Kanade is grabbed by Yuzuru, who keeps saying "I love you" to her, and asks if she will stay with him forever. Each time, Kanade responds with a quick thank you, then vanishes. Kanade's name is shouted out by Yuzuru. A boy stops to listen to a female who is humming in the real world. The boy runs to the girl as she gets ready to leave.